And you are live.
Very good. Thank you very much. We will begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept the minutes of the previously held meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes do have it. Very good. Okay, I believe we have one item that's up for a public hearing today. For those who are interested, this one public hearing will, what we'll do is we will receive a report from the planning department. And then what we'll do is we will open up the public hearing for comment. After the comment, we will then open up questions from the committee and then questions from all of City Council. And then in essence, we'll do that same exact procedure this evening at 7 o'clock. The only main difference is that after that procedure this evening is that the committee will vote and make a recommendation to all of City Council on the conditional use request, either in favor, against, or just to table the item and take time, if you will. So that's the procedures. However, though, before the public hearing begins, I would simply like to request that if there's anyone here that wishes, and as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do this because I understand that there's other folks that will be speaking as well to the committee this afternoon in reference to other proposals that we have. I assume, Sarah, everyone is in who asked to speak?
Correct.
On the call. Thank you very much. So with that, I'm going to ask that everyone who wishes to speak this afternoon to the committee, including this conditional use request, be sworn in from a representative from our law department, Rebecca Advent. Rebecca, take it away.
Okay, thank you. Those wishing to speak before the committee this afternoon, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Very good. So the first item that's up for a public hearing this afternoon is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to retain a fence within the front yard setback area at 656 Oxford. Okay, Mr. Antonucci, I assume
yes.
Report from you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Eddie Smith and Kiara Roberson are requesting permission to retain a solid fence that is over 30 inches in height and within the 25 feet front yard setback for fences. The zoning division has received complaints about the fence. Letters and fines were issued. Subsequently, the petitioner filed for this conditional use on December 1st of 2020. The zoning code states a fence which is 85% or more open shall be permitted to a height no greater than 2 feet 6 inches above the curb, closer than 20 feet to the street. The purpose of this section is to permit vehicles and pedestrians to be visible to persons entering or leaving any lot. Inspections in late December revealed the mostly solid fence ranges in height from 53 inches or 4 feet 5 inches to 6 feet 3 inches within the front yard area. The fence is largely the same today, so that is the same conditions that we see today. This very dense North Hill neighborhood is characterized by a mix of 1- and 2-story homes on 40-foot wide lots. This overheight solid fence within the front yard directly impacts the visibility and safe movement of traffic for the two abutting properties. And is intrusive to neighboring properties. Petitioner stated that the solid fence was constructed to provide an enclosed space for small children and their dog. However, no hardship exists for the petitioner because the same objective can be achieved by legally enclosing the front yard with a chain link fence or one that's 85% open. The traffic engineering and public works divisions concur with the planning staff that the property should fully comply with the development requirements of the zoning code. Planning staff and planning commission both recommend disapproval. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here that wishes to speak to the committee in favor of this conditional use request reference 656 Oxford Avenue. If you could please provide for the committee your name and address, and keep your comments brief and concise, and we welcome you. So is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this conditional use request? 656 Oxford. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor? Raise your hand function or just your hand. Okay, not seeing anyone, Sarah, and I didn't print out the form
No
usually
problem.
applied to me, so I
Sure.
apologize for that.
Sure. We did not have anybody register to speak in favor of this one.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask though 3 times because the law department tells me I'm supposed to do that. So is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone? Anyone? Okay, very good. Is there anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone? Okay. Is that Jeanette?
There, sorry, I forgot to unmute.
That's okay.
Yes, I live at 660 Oxford. And it definitely interferes with my leaving my driveway. I cannot see up the street. I'm on it where it's on a hill even. So I cannot see up the street to see if any cars are coming. So that is really the main thing for me, is why I would like to see the fence, brought up to code.
Okay, thank you. And what's your full name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeanette Burlacher.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak against this proposal at 656 Oxford? Anyone else wishing to speak against? Anyone? Okay, very good. I'm not seeing anyone. So with that, we'll close the public hearing and ask if there's any questions from the committee reference this proposal at this time. Any questions from the committee? Am I missing something? I heard something. I heard a bell. Anyone wishing to ask questions from the committee? Anyone beyond council? Mr. Lombardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So obviously this is in my ward, and I've been by the property several times, and I would have to concur with Jeanette there and say that this is an obstruction for her vision along with anybody else, because again, she's downhill, so that even makes the fence higher, so to speak, for her looking out. And just in the matter of safety, and I would agree with the planning commission and to not allow this type of structure in the front yard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lombardo, for that. Thank you. Any other council representatives have questions or comments at this time? Anyone? Okay, very good. We're not seeing anyone. We'll move on to the balance of the agenda. Ms. Jeanette, I would just invite you back this evening at 7 o'clock. You're more than welcome to attend again. And after that public hearing, we'll make a recommendation to all of council. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us here. Okay, item number 2 on a regular agenda was scheduled for public hearing, but we're going to delay that till March 29th. Reschedule that particular public hearing. Item number 3 is the approving the Chapel Hill Mall redevelopment plan, making necessary findings in connection therewith. So with this, we did have quite a bit of discussion last week in reference to this. I know Mr. Westcott is here, and I see Adele Roth is here as well, and others. If there's any questions from it, and I do know that some of the folks who are connected with the mall plan itself is here as well. If the first question is does any committee members have any questions whatsoever in reference to this, the redevelopment plan itself? Does any committee members have any questions? We do have folks here who can answer those. I don't recall receiving any questions this week. So I'll open it up to the rest of council. Is anyone on council have questions in reference to this? I think it was mentioned last week that we would like to take 1 week's time, or 2 weeks time, I guess.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you can see that Councilman Lombardo has his hand
I see your hand is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question with the redevelopment. I didn't ask this last time, but with the existing businesses that are in the mall, is there any plans for them with the new ownership?
Mr. Westcott?
Yeah. Yes, I will have to defer to Mr. Martin and let him explain a little bit about the project, if he could do so.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, if you could please introduce yourself, appreciate that. And if you could please respond. Thank you.
Sure. Hello again. Nice to see everyone virtually. Jeff Martin with Industrial Commercial Properties, 6675 Parkland Boulevard in Solon, Ohio. So as I introduced myself last week, we are the current owner of the former Sears at Chapel Hill Mall, and then we are under contract to purchase the balance of the mall from Cohen Retail Properties. I don't know the exact entity name, but we're under contract to purchase the balance of the mall, excluding the Storage of America acreage in early March. And our game plan right now has not been entirely determined with respect to the existing retail and tenants that are operating at the mall. That's something we'll evaluate as soon as we take ownership and kind of chart the course forward.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Okay. Any further questions or comments? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions or comments from any committee members or council members. However, though, given we've taken time, given people an opportunity to get questions answered, I'd like to entertain a motion that we suspend the rules with a favorable report.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kamer. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Very good. I'd like to ask for a roll call, Ms. Viviano.
Sure. I can see that Mr. Swirsky just joined the meeting.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just have to ask a quick question. Is this a vote on AMATs?
No, sir. No, sir. This is reference item number 3 on the regular list of legislation in reference to the redevelopment plan for Chapel Hill.
Oh, yeah, great. Okay, sorry.
It's okay. No problem.
Okay.
Let's go.
Abstain.
Kamer,
Aye.
Swirsky,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Samples.
Aye.
This motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention.
Thank you, Ms. Viviano. We'll now move on to this 4th item that's up for, it's on the regular agenda. And of course, this is amending the zoning map in reference to the Chapel Hill area, the 72 acres of land that contains what's known as Chapel Hill Mall. Ask again if there's any questions or comments from anyone at this time. Any questions or comments? Okay, not hearing any or seeing any, unless I'm missing something. And if there isn't, I'd like to entertain again a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
So moved. Okay. Second.
Okay, thank you all. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Very good. Roll call, Ms. Viviano, please.
Lesko,
Abstain.
Kamer,
Aye.
Swirsky,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Samples.
Aye.
The motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention.
Thank you, Ms. Viviano. Very good. Now we'll move on to item number 5, and this is to refresh the committee's memories. The ordinance authorizing conditional use to construct a self-storage facility at 990 Buckholzer Boulevard. We had a public hearing that was held 2 weeks ago. Discussion was made and a recommendation was made from the planning department and the planning commission, I believe both of which were favorable. Is there any questions or comments from anyone at this time references conditional use? Okay, not seen anyone. So I'd like to see a favorable report with a suspension of the rules.
So move for favorable report with suspension of the rules.
Thank you, Ms. Baylor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Very good. The ayes have it. Ms. Viviano.
Lesko,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Swirsky,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Samples.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you for that. I'm going to recommend that we take time on the balance of the agenda at this time. That's the regular list of legislation. We'll now move on to the new list of legislation. I'd like to draw everyone's attention to item number 2, which is ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a two-family residence use at 119 South Maple Street. And that's scheduled for public hearing on March 8th. So all those wishing to refer this item, I'd like a motion for that.
Motion to refer.
In a second,
Second.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, thank you. Very good. Item number 3 is and this is under new list, authorizing a conditional use to establish a type A daycare at 1247 Florida Avenue. This also is referred for public hearing on March 8th. Is there a motion to that effect?
Motion to refer.
Thank you. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Very good. Against? The ayes have it. Okay. Now, item number 4, this is an ordinance approving the historic designation of 44 East Exchange Street, formerly known as the Akron Beacon Journal, as a historic landmark. Mr. Antonucci, I believe you may have some introductions here for us.
Actually, we have Kurt Mulhauser to present this.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. An application for historic designation was submitted to the city on behalf of the owner of the Akron Beacon Journal building located at 44 East Exchange Street. The Beacon Journal is the oldest continuously operating business in Summit County and was an institution in downtown Akron at the corner of Exchange and High Streets for over 80 years. The building was constructed in 1930. Architecturally, the 2-story facades along South High Street and Exchange Street are limestone with Art Deco elements. The building retains a high degree of historic integrity. The Department of Planning and Urban Development staff has found the application meets the criteria outlined in the City of Akron Urban Design Historic Preservation Ordinance to define a historic landmark. The Urban Design Commission, Planning Commission, and planning staff recommends approval of the designation of the Akron Beacon Journal building located at 44 East Exchange Street as a City of Akron landmark. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mulhauser. I understand there may be 1 or 2 folks here that wishes to speak to the committee.
Yes.
Yes, Ms. Murphy?
Yes, I have with me Olivia Zepp, and if it's okay to share the screen, we'll just show you a few slides just to familiarize you with the building in case it's not entrenched in your memory.
Thank you. Yeah, many of us know that building extremely well.
Okay, so we are introducing to you the Akron Beacon Journal building, and it takes up most of the block bounded by East Exchange, Cedar Street, South High Street, and South Broadway. This is an historic map from 1940, which unfortunately did not come in color and therefore is a fuzzy, but it's the red square indicates the Beacon Journal building having occupied that block even at that time. 1950 Sanborn map also shows the growth there. The original building was built in 1929 and 1930, and that included the corner tower. The second edition, or the first edition, second piece, was built in 1954, and that would be the corner of East Exchange and Broadway. The third edition was built in the 80s and is not considered a historic piece to the building. So here you can see a couple of construction photos. This shows you from the South High Street, looking to the left to the tower, which was the main entry, and to the right, to the rear of the building, which had eventually a parking garage attached to it. So those windows have since been blocked. This is the front of the building, and this is a 1930 image. So you can see half of the building on East Exchange Street before the 1954 edition. This is a 1954 photo, which includes the 54 edition. You can see there that there is an alley of sorts that comes off of Exchange Street to go through the building, but it now occupies most of the site. 1959 image. And these are presses from the 1954 press room. These pieces of equipment are now gone. More photos of what went on, and this is the open office areas from the 1978 edition, the 1978 configuration of the building. So we are proposing that the period of significance go to 1976. This would be immediately after that period, but when the Beacon had in its Pulitzer Prize winning days. Okay, we have just a couple slides to show you the configuration of the building. On the left shows you the 1929 ground floor addition. On the right is the 1954 addition, and the dotted rectangles on the right-hand side show you where the presses were located. The rear portion of the building is the 1982 addition. On the right-hand side, this is the mezzanine. The little square is the mezzanine in the tower portion of the building, and the level looking down into the press area. As we look to the second floor, we see how the building has been reconfigured over time. And this again is this is the current building. I guess we could have picked a sunnier day to take this photo, but it's a wonderful building and we really would like to save it. You can see that there's a little bit of difference in the tower when it became digital format. This is the corner of Exchange and Broadway, looking at the 1954 edition. The 1954 edition was sandstone on Exchange Street, and it was actually brick down the Broadway Avenue. This is the rear of the 1982 edition. And here you're looking at the back. I showed you earlier a photo of the 1930s when there were windows across the back of that building. Now it's a painted brick. It's all been filled in. Remaining still are just inside the main entry, the historic stairs, and off to the right are historic floors and doors and trim work, terrazzo floors. This is the press room, where the printing presses were located, and the overlook from the upper level. These are areas in the printing press overlook area that you could look down. If you look at the photo on the left, where the light comes through, if you stand over there, you're looking down into the printing presses. And we have John S. Knight's office and some of the two-story spaces, and filled in a little in the 80s. There are some original doors remaining at the existing stair tower. And those again are the steps in off the main lobby. These photos are a little bit hard to tell what you're looking at, but you're looking above the suspended ceiling at the molded plasterwork trim. We did an inventory of that trim work to find that quite a bit of it is still remaining. These are two marble carved plaques that are in the front lobby. And then 2 pages from the Beacon Journal that are an article in regard to Charles L. Knight, who is the father of John S. Knight, and the Pulitzer Prize winning articles. And I think that's all we have to show you today. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you so much. Thank you. No, I think there's no question about the impact that the Knight family, as well as the Akron Beacon Journal, over the years has had on not only Akron, but the greater community, and even, you know, all around the country where they've where they've had newspapers, other cities throughout. And we've been the beneficiaries, our local region here,
Yes, we have.
and the tremendous impact that their family has had, and the Beacon Journal itself. And no matter if and we all know people who are fans of the Akron Beacon Journal and people who are maybe, you know, but you cannot deny the Art Deco look of it, the beauty of the building itself. And obviously, you know, we here in the United States, sometimes we don't, you know, try to preserve these type of buildings. And so unfortunately, we see them, you know, be moved, be torn down for other developments. But in Europe, you see a lot of these buildings like this are preserved, and they are significant. And this is, well, what a great step forward. Hope nothing but the best for this building, and that you get the approvals that you need in order to get the tax credits.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, and good luck. Any questions or comments from anyone? Mr. Swirsky. Unmute, please.
This is wonderful work. Really appreciate what you've done, because this is, I don't know if in today's age of multimedia, Twitter, or other things, if people realize how powerful the Beacon Journal was in this town, how respected and listened to by local government officials. Sometimes I felt like it was too much, but they were the power in town. They told the story of local government and other community events to the citizens. Very few other sources were telling those stories. So when they wrote an editorial, most of the council people, let's put it this way, they never, ever ignored it. I'll just put it that way. So it's great that you're celebrating this, because it was such a critical part of our community. And I guess the only question I have is, and maybe I'm just missing something, but will there be able to be some reuse of the building? And is that part of the plan to get the tax credit?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
The current owner would like to seek the state and federal historic preservation tax credits, and the only way to get those tax credits is to reuse the building.
Yeah, great. So could you, I mean, maybe it's still speculative at this point, but what are some of the ideas being discussed?
So there's a lot of ideas being discussed, but I'm under a non-disclosure agreement. So we're going to have to stick to historic questions today.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah, I'm just glad that you're thinking that way. It's beyond thinking, it's planning and meticulously researching and preparing materials. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any further questions or comments from any committee members? Now, please understand, this is simply a yes vote on this particular ordinance would be designating 44 East Exchange Street. That footprint there is a historic district. And I think we can all certainly recognize that this building has significance, and that's what is looked at by those in the state as well as the federal government in terms of approving a historic designation is significant. So, but in case there's questions or comments, And if there's no objection, I'd like to entertain a motion that we put this on the consent agenda, if that's okay. I don't know if there's a sense of urgency or not, Ms. Murphy, but
We do have urgency, but it's my understanding if we agree to the consent agenda, it will be reviewed on March 1st. And as long as we can get our signatures in the week after that, then we will still meet our deadlines.
Okay, very good, very good. Short of any other questions or comments, I'd like to then entertain a motion that we place this on consent agenda.
Motion for consent.
A second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Against? The ayes have it, very good. So we'll request.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your good work and good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you can see that Councilman Malik has his hand raised.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Mr. Malik.
No problem at all. Ms. Murphy, I was just wondering, is there an estimated value of the state and federal tax credits?
Well, that depends on the use of the building and how much is invested. The state tax credit is worth 25% of the qualified rehabilitation expenditures, and the federal is worth 20% of the qualified rehabilitation expenditures. So the state has a cap of $5 million receipt on the qualified rehabilitation expenditures, but the federal has no cap. So if, let's say, there's $20 million invested, then there $5 million $5 million state tax credit, if $1 million coming from the Fed. So I would guess that we have a minimum of $9 million coming into Akron from outside, which is wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments reference this particular item? Okay, very good. Seeing none, we'll move on then. Item number 5. This is ordinance authorizing the execution of a development agreement with industrial commercial properties or its designee, providing for the acquisition, sale, and redevelopment of property located at 2000 Britton Road. Mr. Who is here on this particular item? Mr.
I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Akron City Council members. Condition upon transfer of ownership from Cohan Retail Investment Group to Akron Chapel Hill LLC. The city is requesting to enter a development agreement to acquire the property from the owner and subsequently transfer the property back to the developer, Akron 2000 Britton Road LLC and Akron Chapel Hill LLC, for the purpose of redeveloping Chapel Hill Mall consistent with the Chapel Hill redevelopment plan. The city has determined that it's necessary and in the best interest of the city to provide tax increment financing to the developer for the redevelopment in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code sections 5709.41. The Chapel Hill Mall consists of approximately 800,000 square feet of land, square feet of space on 60 acres of land at 2000 Britton Road. The developer will invest about $20 million in project costs and site acquisition costs. Construction is expected to start in the spring of 2021 and completed in 2026. 400 people are expected to be employed at the completion of the site. The initial TIF stream of 1.5 million of net present value will be assigned to Akron Britton Road LLC and Akron Chapel Hill LLC, the developer, and be used for infrastructure and private property improvements at the site. Any additional TIF income stream will be paid to the city of Akron. The final development agreement will be provided to Akron City Council by Thursday, February 25th. The city will be bringing TIF legislation to Akron City Council at a later date as the project commences. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Westcott. And I know there's a few others here from the ICP, correct? Mr. Martin is here as well. I'm not sure who else is here, but also there's others that can answer questions. If there's any questions from anyone, obviously this is the development agreement. Other legislation would come after, especially reference TIF, which would be spelled out even in greater detail. But this would be a development agreement, and believe that we should probably at least take 1 week's time. I'm going to recommend that we consider consent agenda perhaps, and then if questions can come forward, if they're not thought of today, and we can get those answered before a vote in mass on a week from today. So, but I do want to open up for questions right now from any committee members. Any committee members have any questions? I'm looking around my screen here, not seeing anyone with questions on council at this point, at this juncture. Mr. Malley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Westcott, and everyone else who's joined. A couple of questions. I think first, it would be great to see the development agreement available on the 25th, I think you said. Second, I don't know, Mr. Westcott or someone from law, if you want to speak to, but will there be any language included in case the development does not go forward as planned, that there be some kind of right of refusal, first right of refusal in terms of a subsequent sale of the property, to make sure that, you know, the city still is able to have some involvement with the future of the site if the development doesn't go forward? I'll wait for an answer on that and then go to my third question.
Yeah, hi, Councilman Sean Bowman. Yeah, that would not be typical in a situation like this because the city does not own the property. It is, you know, a private sale that's going to go to the city and then to the developer, you know, in order to generate the TIF financing. What we would have via the development agreement is if that planned development did not go, then we wouldn't be turning over, you know, the TIF would give us the right to have a say in any future development, assuming that TIF would be part of that development, if that makes sense.
It does. I guess the third question is, I know that, you know, our prior discussions about this have kind of, you know, centered around, you know, it's not exactly clear what the planned development is going to be. It sounds like there are some pretty specific benchmarks in terms of jobs and investment of money. So it seems like there is at least a planned, you know, specific development in mind. Are there any available details about what that will be?
No, I'll have to defer to Jeff Martin on that question.
Mr. Martin.
Yeah, Councilman Malley, good to see you again. You know, I think at this stage we're evaluating several different redevelopment plays for the mall property. You know, inclusive of keeping a large component of retail at the property, but you know, clearly as you know, contemplated through the redevelopment plan that we've been working with staff on as well. I mean, the shift is to move this more in kind of an office industrial park direction over the long term, with retail being more of an ancillary use for the property.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. So there's, again, the number that I think from Mr. Westcott was a commitment of 400 new jobs. And what was the investment amount?
It'll be 1.5 actually for net present value.
Okay, and 400 jobs.
400 jobs is the expectation. That's correct.
Okay, and are those new jobs or are those existing?
New jobs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments from anyone? Questions or comments? Very good. At this time, as mentioned previously, like to request consent agenda, or if it's the committee's wishes, we could just refer this for 1 week. We will be getting the, obviously, as everyone's aware, if it goes on consent agenda, it can come off and we can have discussion. or we can just refer this for 1 week and then vote on it next week in committee. So if there's questions or comments reference that procedure, any wishes, any strong feelings from council, from committee members? Okay, not hearing any. So what we'll do is this. I'm going to recommend then a consent agenda. And then again, I will urge council to please bring forward any questions or comments to Mr. Westcott, Ms. Roth, Mr. Volleman, myself, any questions whatsoever. We want to get those answered, especially I understand the 25th is whenever we should get copy. Correct, Mr. Westcott, of the agreement. So we will see that. So if there is any questions or comments, please bring those forward. If there's any strong feelings, like I said, we can certainly just put this on the regular agenda and discuss it next week, or we could place it on the consent agenda. I'm not hearing any strong feelings one way or the other, so I will just simply recommend consent agenda. Is there a motion for a consent agenda?
Motion for consent.
Second.
A second. Okay, very good. All those in favor of the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Very good. Not hearing anyone against. We'll put that on the consent agenda. And again, I would like to urge council to please make sure you review that and bring forward questions within the next few days, actually. So if there is any. So very good. With that, we'll now move on to item number, where are we at? 6, I do believe. This is a long one. Ordinance authorizing the director of the Department of Planning and Urban Development to enter into contracts for transportation planning services in order to carry out the intent and purpose of programs under the Federal Consolidated Planning Grant for the fiscal year 2021, and in order to further the Akron Municipal Area Transportation Studies goals and objectives of maintaining a cooperative, continuous, and comprehensive framework for making transportation investment decisions in the Akron metropolitan area. I do see Ms. Reed. Are you here for this particular item?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. Any comment?
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Good afternoon. I am Heather Reidel, and I'm a mobility planner with AMATS. As a reminder, AMATS is the federally designated metropolitan planning organization for the Akron area, funded primarily through Federal Highway Administration funds. As the Akron area MPO, AMATS serves all of Summit and Portage counties and parts of Wayne County. The city of Akron acts as AMATS fiscal agent. This legislation before you today is a renewal that allows AMATS to enter into contracts for transportation planning studies, as well as data collection and analysis. Specifically, this year, we have 2 planning grants that will get started, one being in the city of Stowe and the other being with PARTA in Portage County. Additionally, this legislation will allow AMATS to continue its pavement condition index program. At this time, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Reidel. The question I have is there any significant changes from the previous agreement and this agreement?
Nope, none.
No significant changes. Very good. Are you in a hurry on this particular piece of legislation with the consent?
No.
Okay.
Yes, we are fine with it going on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from committee members? I'm looking, Mr. Swirsky.
Just one quick way. Just want to comment on the role AMS has had in the speed humps that all council people are so grateful for. Want to make a little comment about that?
Yes, we're excited about it as well. Looking forward to what's to come this year with.
Could you explain a little bit about what you guys did?
Oh, sure. We well, I should be clear. This is not a project that I worked directly on. But
Okay,
what I can tell you though is that AMATS worked with the city of Akron to purchase these speed tables, and then worked with the city to determine the locations for them, as well as do the data analysis and collection. The collection of the data, and then put together a report. So looking ahead this year, those speed tables we are willing to work with any of our member communities on, but at this time it looks like the city of Akron is the only community that has plans to move forward and look at other locations. So the city the city of Akron and Ametz will work together on that going forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thanks for the
You're
good
welcome.
work. Thanks for the good work.
Thank you. We're
But I'm
glad
gonna
the community
I'm
wanted
gonna have
do
to abstain on the vote on this. I think you know why.
it. Sure.
Very good. Further questions or comments from anyone? Anybody have a question or comment in reference to this, the agreement, the contract, I should say, with Ametz in the city of Akron? Any questions or comments? Very good. Not seeing any. Is there a motion for consent agenda?
So move.
Your second?
Second.
Very good. All those in favor of consent signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Can I register an abstention?
Yeah,
Somehow
sure.
here.
Sir Viviano, could you please roll call?
Sure. Lesko,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Swirsky,
I abstain. My son works there.
Baylor,
Thank you.
Aye.
and Samples.
Aye.
The motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all your good work with regards to working with the city and our neighboring communities. Very good. I believe that's all. So therefore, the planning committee is adjourned. Ms. Viviano, take it away for the next.
Thank you. Our next committee meeting will be the Public Service Committee meeting at 2 o'clock. Those committee members are Samples, Kamer, Swirsky, Lombardo, and McKittrick. So we will stop our live stream and be back at 2 o'clock. Thank you.